Good morning, everyone. My name is Dana. I'm an organizer with No Ice for Maine. No Ice for Maine has been organizing since last summer to end Cumberland County's contract with ICE. We are a coalition of community members, faith leaders, educators, and other advocates working to end ICE operations across the state. Our goal is to build safe and welcoming communities across Maine, and today we are joined by many organizations, unions, and workers to say, ICE out. We're here because over the last week, Maine communities were invaded by hundreds of ICE agents who kidnapped our neighbors. We are here today in deep solidarity with the people of Minneapolis because of the murders of Alex Jeffrey Preddy, a unionized VA nurse, Renee Good, a mother and neighbor, and Keith Porter, a father of two. We're here today for the countless others who have experienced ICE's violence and terror. And that's why we are demanding a true end to ICE in our state. Today, you will hear different experiences and perspectives from immigrant organizations, community members, labor leaders, business owners, workers, faith leaders, elected officials, and Portland Mayor Mark Dion on how we must respond. Speakers will be available for one-on-one interviews after the press conference. So with that, first up we have April Fournier, Portland at-large City Councilor.
Wow, I'm short. Yat and good morning, everyone. My name is April Fournier. I am one of your at-large city councilors here in Portland and also Dene, or a citizen of the Navajo Nation. I'm a grateful guest here on the land of the Wabanaki peoples. And one thing our ancestors passed forward to us in their wisdom is that migration is indigenous. It's part of the natural order. Our peoples, since time immemorial, have followed the seasons, have followed the hunts, have followed adventure, have followed trade, and even love. It wasn't until imperialism, capitalism, and colonization that borders crossed us, and what was natural became criminal. What I've seen in our city over the last 10 days is a reminder of the attempts of this administration to create compliance through fear. The very foundation of this administration is to distract, to distort, and to deny. Well, they don't know Portland like we do they? They don't understand Portland because they are rooted in the idea of individual exceptionalism, power, ego, and winning at all costs. That's isolating and exclusionary, and that's not us. When these forces descended on our city, though we saw masked militia brandishing guns in our parking lots and neighborhoods, cars left carelessly behind as our people were stolen, and attempts at intimidation to all of our community responders, we also saw our collective strength. Each instance of harm created by ICE, by the Trump administration, by Susan Collins, creates a ripple effect, one that takes time and resources and repair to overcome. But my friends, what is also true is that our acts of compassion, our acts of service, response, and resistance also create ripples. And the time is coming soon when our ripples will become tidal waves to change this system. It can't be just a drop in the bucket, though, because those quickly fade. Our theory of change must be collective, sustained movements that create wave after wave to knock down this oppressive, cowardly regime. My friends and relatives, we have a word in Navajo for our kinship relations. Those are who are blood relatives, but also those who are bonded through community, and it's called kea. When our kea is strong and connected, we have beauty and balance, or what we call hojo. We are in this moment rebuilding our connections, showing up for our kea, and working to restore the hojo, the beauty way, the balance. Democracy is indigenous, and no one is illegal on stolen land. Ake'e maike'e for showing up today and every day. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Fournier. Next up, we have Portland Mayor Mark Dion, and we're also going to have members of the Portland City Council and Westbrook City Council to stand there with him.
I'm short too. I thought about a lot, what would I say today? And I was joking prior to taking the podium that often Councilor Fournier says exactly what I would say, and I would simply be redundant. So today's been that case again in terms of sentiment. I want to speak about dissent for just a moment. Dissent is democratic. Dissent is American. It's the cornerstone of our democracy. So when I hear people criticize that, I'm reminding them to be American is to dissent. It's messy, and we disagree with each other, and we fight like hell to move our individual political viewpoints across. But at the end of the day, we are united in our understanding that it is our patriotic responsibility to stand up and tell the government no. On a personal level, I've been involved in public service for almost 50 years. And through that journey, my wife has always been my primary support. And she's the common citizen. She reads the paper, looks at social media, does her homework, and votes. For her, that's her responsibility. She's the quiet American. This summer, I came home one day and she was furiously busy with making protest signs on our dining room table with her little half cheaters almost coming off her nose. And I was shocked. This is a much more assertive behavior than I've ever seen her display. Now, my wife has been a nurse for almost 45 years and works in the community and serves marginalized populations, new Mainers, people we don't think about, nor do we want to think about. And she's been compassionate. In my travels, I get feedback about that. And I said, what are you doing, Cheryl? She says, I'm going out. I can't stand it anymore. I can't tell you what a revelation and how empowering that was to me, that she finally decided there was a line, and they crossed it for her. And she pointed up at me and she says, and you better do something about it too, all right? She reflected the two values we hold all together as Americans: the right to say no more. I withdraw my consent. America works as a government, as a country, when we consent to what the government will do on our behalf. And when the government walks away from that contract, we should stand up and say no. We should call into question leadership. My fellow councilors and I know every day that when we make decisions, we'll be held accountable. There'll be some in the community that will say, no, that's not the path that we subscribe to. And that is democracy. Washington has forgot that. So today, when I was walking up here, I didn't want to really give a political speech. I wanted to remind myself that my role model is my wife. And when she said, we can't stand it anymore, I recognized that she had solidarity with her patients. It wasn't about her. Her life wasn't being disturbed. It was about the fact that she felt allegiance to those who had a lesser voice and less power, and that she would stand with them as one. And that's an average person. And that's when Washington begins to crumble. It's not when politicians argue, it's when the average person says enough. This isn't right. And that's why I trust the people. They reduced it to its most essential. Is it right or is it wrong? And we are living in a time where wrong appears to want to overtake right. But I don't believe it'll win. So I want to thank everyone who goes to the street. You are doing the most important work possible on behalf of our understanding of community. You are doing all you can to defend the Constitution that I've taken an oath to protect, right? You are doing what's necessary to be done, and I'm thankful for that. And because of your work and your ability to stand fast, Washington has blinked. And in that moment, their failure is at their doorstep. So thank you all for being who you are. Thank you all for understanding that every day you contract with government, and at any time you can withdraw your consent and say no. And for those of you who've privately said, oh, you've said some good things, Mayor, I want you to understand that I am only the representation of the will of this council. I speak on their behalf, and I know it's authentic because that is their belief, and I will carry it forward on behalf of the council and the people who we are accountable to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Dion. Next up, we have Grace Valenzuela, longtime Portland educator.
Good morning. My name is Grace Valenzuela. Trying to. I'm an immigrant, a longtime resident of Maine, and a public school administrator who has worked with students of immigrant and refugee backgrounds here in the United States and overseas. As an immigrant, I know what it means to build a life in a new country, to work hard, follow the rules, raise children, and contribute to the community while navigating systems that were not built with you in mind. For many of us, that fragile sense of stability is now threatened, not by a failure to contribute or comply, but by an enforcement system that treats our presence as suspect. As an educator and a school district leader, I see the consequences of ICE enforcement not as policy abstractions, but as daily trauma carried into classrooms, school buses, cafeterias, and homes. When ICE arrests parents and caregivers, schools feel it immediately. Schools are meant to be places of safety, learning, and belonging. ICE undermines that mission every time it destabilizes the family. Children from immigrant families arrive at school anxious. They are distracted and emotionally dysregulated. Attendance drops, academic progress stalls, mental health crises rise. Students worry not about homework, but about whether their family will still be intact at the end of the day. This is now the reality for many immigrant families. It is the direct and predictable outcome of enforcement practices designed to instill fear, to surveil and target communities, and to deliberately terrorize immigrant families. These actions are not accidental side effects of policy. They are the point. The intent is to fracture families and send a message that certain people do not belong. We must also reject the false and dangerous narrative that immigrants are criminals, that they are here unlawfully. The reality is that the vast majority of immigrants in our communities are following the legal processes that exist, often waiting years, sometimes decades, for documentation that allows them to live and work in this country. They comply with the rules, attend required hearings, submit paperwork, and navigate an immigration system that is deliberately complex, slow, and charges exorbitant fees. To criminalize people for existing within this system is not justice. It is a distortion used to justify harm. ICE enforcement reflects a broader shift toward governance through fear rather than rights. It represents a profound failure of our democratic values. It is a system that targets people based on race, language, and national origin. It is not upholding justice. It is enforcing institutionalized racism. It is not protecting democracy. It is eroding it. Maine must not be complicit in this harm. Maine has a choice. We can choose fear, the humanization and silence, or we can choose courage, dignity, community, and justice. We choose justice. We say enough. We call for the release of Maine detainees. We call for defunding and dismantling ICE. We call for redirecting funds out of ICE to community-based supports that actually keep families safe and thriving. To use the funds for healthcare for all and for robust funding for public education. Today and every day, we demand no ICE in Maine and anywhere in the United States. Let's keep a sustained vigilance for our civil liberties and democratic principles. Our children are watching us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Representative Rafael Macias, District 51, and with him, Representative Matthew Beck and Representative Charles Skold.
I think I'm shorter than the mayor. Good morning, Maine. My name is Rafael Macias. I represent House District 51, most of Topsom. I get to vote on things that affect all Mainers, not just citizens, but also the disaffected and the disenfranchised. I believe everyone is deserving of dignity and respect. Everyone. I want the world to see what I see. I want that for everyone. The freedom to go wherever you want, unafraid, protected by laws that are enforced equally and fairly. That feeling of safety that should not be rare or conditional. It should be ordinary. There are 2 buttons on my desk on the House floor marked yes and no. I look at each bill and ask 2 questions. Who does it hurt and who does it help? Those questions matter because laws always affect real people, and they are never abstract. I vote to protect workers, unions, and those struggling to make ends meet, because those are the people most affected when laws fail. Back in 2006, I was deployed to Afghanistan with 160 men and women from all over the country in a hurry. The Army needed help, and the Navy and Air Force mobilized quickly, some within a week. I went from my cubicle in Pennsylvania to the streets of Kabul. There was snow on the ground when we arrived. We wore masks. We were there before the up-armored Humvees started arriving. We rolled our windows down and pointed our weapons out. We drove faster than everyone else, and we were always watching for roadside bombs and vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices. Some of us were scared. We were told not to throw candy to the kids, not because we didn't care to, but because they would run towards our truck and get hurt. We learned that the hard way. We had rules of engagement, and we practiced them constantly. Those rules weren't about force. They were about restraint, coordination, and protection. Thankfully, I never fired my weapon in anger. All 160 of us came back. Only one of us came back carrying the kind of hurt that comes with taking a life. Every one of us came back seeing the world in a different way, a very different way. What kept us alive were rules, discipline, and the shared understanding that no one would be left behind. It sustained us. When I retired in 2013, after 22 years of service, I had a pension, a home, and health care for myself and my family. I had access to education, and most of all, I had the comfort of knowing that if something went wrong, I would be taken care of. I want that for everyone. Not because it's charity, but because a society that asks people to give their attention, their labor, and ultimately their lives owe them security in return. I began meditating down by the river in 2016, and during one distinct moment of clarity, a deep peace and serenity washed over me. With a certainty, I knew there was nothing to be afraid of, ever. Not because nothing could go wrong, but because facing those fears was the gateway back to that eternal feeling of peace I felt. That understanding has sustained me over the years of chaos. Many of us are afraid right now. I saw a meme yesterday that said we're in season 1, episode 3 of The Handmaid's Tale. We see our freedom slipping away. We scroll feeling helpless, watching chaos, death, and destruction unfold in real time. So what can we do? What can we do as United States citizens and as Mainers? What can we do to save our state, our country, from this incessant fear creeping in? Be unafraid. The thing about being unafraid is that it doesn't mean never feeling fear. You're going to get afraid, and sometimes quickly. Coming out of it can be difficult, but it is always possible. Fear passes when we stay present. Firstly, breathe with intention. Then, identify the feeling in your body and treat it as data, as information, not instructions. Not as an invitation to lose our shit, even as we feel the rage brewing inside. Then look around you and remember how lucky we are to live in Maine. The natural beauty, the trees, the water, the sunsets. No billboards blocking our view or stealing our attention. Mainers are peaceful, kind, and steady, and I have never felt unsafe in Maine, and neither should you. Once you get your breathing and awareness in check, then we can be defiant and joyful at the same time. We can be the Americans the world recognizes in our best moments, the ones in our songs and in our history. We can be the freedom fighters we claim in our declarations. We can be the America we grew up believing we were. Americans are funny. Some of those signs I've seen over the past months are pretty creative. Keep them coming. We can have a good time even when being our defiant selves. Americans are courageous. Here's where we show it. We're going to help each other. We're going to protect the vulnerable. We're going to organize, and we're going to stand. We will make the world brighter for each other when the days get dark. In doing so for others, we can get to a place where we know we are truly free. But freedom begins in our imaginations. We have to see it first. I can. Ourselves and our loved ones relaxing and laughing among the trees with nothing to fear. Fear is the leash to that old vision. Let it go. Peace on earth is possible, and I believe it's inevitable. Every one of us can get there unscathed if we walk together. Be unafraid together, but wear the right shoes for the occasion. I want to share what I do right now after I wake up every morning, before I open my eyes. I think about what I'm thinking about. And if it's what I was thinking last night or what I was worrying about before I fell asleep, I stop. Then I quietly recite a reminder of why fear doesn't get to run my day to day. I keep repeating it until I can say it once in full, without my mind drifting to my schedule or my worries. I make the bed. I have a heart-shaped rock I put on her side of the bed so I know she knows that I'm thinking about her. But sometimes I forget to. I'm in my head. She forgives me. So don't ever forget to drink a full glass of water first thing in the morning. You gotta water yourselves, people. These are small acts, but small acts done faithfully shape how we show up for one another. Be unafraid, but don't be careless. Be mindful of all the people that are still sleeping. Arguing with sleepwalking people doesn't help anyone. It startles them. So walk together, be present for each other, because there is nothing to be afraid of ever. Now, if you still need something to do, after you get all that peace inside, visit Activate Maine. There's a list of activities you can go to. And if you're interested in hitting ICE where it hurts, call your legislator to support my bill, LD 1383. And we're almost there. We got to keep on going. Peace.
Next up, we have Cynthia Finney, President of the Maine AFL-CIO.
Good morning, friends. My name is Cynthia Finney. You just heard I'm the president of the Maine AFL-CIO. We're a federation of over 200 labor organizations across our state, made up of over 40,000 workers in a wide array of occupations. I have here, for the press, if they're interested, a position statement from our national organization, but I know that you came here today to hear about Maine. I want to underscore what Grace Valenzuela said about the vast majority of immigrants in this country. And I also want to say that this surge is impacting not just immigrants. We personally know of Native Americans who've been picked up. And everyone has seen what's happening to people who stand up for immigrants. So this surge is impacting everyone. The surge has brought a great deal of public attention to what's happening, but many of you already know that it was happening before they escalated in any state and in our state. Some of the press already covered last August during the blueberry harvest when a van of workers was stopped because a concerned citizen had seen brown people in a van and thought they should be investigated. It's already been referred to today, and you've already reported on the engineer that was with legal work papers who was abducted, his car left running, his phone thrown into the road. We also know in some of the workplaces where the workers of our affiliates are employed that they've received inexplicable letters and told they must appear at the immigration court in Boston for reasons that they don't understand, even though they're following the rules, just to harass them, as near as we can tell. I want to say that what we're seeing now, some employers saw this coming and have been preparing for months, some of them intensely, to keep their workers safe, to keep their businesses able to continue functioning and providing the products and services that they provide. Others have been, and some still are, in denial that this should impact them at all. And in many cases, workers are stepping up to support coworkers, driving them to work, taking groceries to their house so they don't have to go out. No one should have to worry about getting in their car or getting on the bus or walking from their home to work. The larger context of the power of what we're facing, funding for this kind of project and the ones related to it increased nearly exponentially with the passage of the big bill last fall. Depending on what you count in the immigration enforcement, anywhere from $90 to $170 billion for the project of removing black and brown people from our country and keeping others from entering. In contrast, for enforcement of labor laws, $2.1 billion. What are the values of those people who pushed that budget successfully? I want to shout out to the folks who are striking today here in Portland, and I've seen also across the state asking the hospitality industry, restaurants in particular, to close in a day of protest and solidarity. Real solidarity is not a statement. It's actually standing in solidarity and making the necessary sacrifices and enduring the necessary discomfort to support and move forward justice for those that we stand with. And so I will not be eating in Portland today, even though that's one of my favorite treats when I have a reason to come to Portland, is to go to some of the places I like to eat. I'm not doing that today. And shout out to those workers and businesses. Many of them are in solidarity together, which is not always the case. So good for them. And finally, I just want to say that our demand as we stand in, oh no, one more story I want to tell you. What it was like last week, a meeting of some of our members that gather regularly to talk about important labor issues. And one of them on Zoom was clearly in the dark. We'd had some weather. I asked if their power was out. No, he said, ice is in our neighborhood and we decided we want to keep the lights off. We don't want that happening in Portland. We don't want that happening in Maine. We don't want that happening in our country, and we actually don't want that happening anywhere in the world. And that's our demand, that ICE stand down in Maine, in the country, that people's rights be respected, and that every person in their interactions with the government be treated with respect and dignity. That's our demand, and that is what we are standing in solidarity to achieve together.
We're going to take a quick pause. It's okay? Okay. Next up, we have Alec Maberjuk, Executive Director of the Maine Service Employees Association, SEIU, Local 1989.
Hello, sisters, brothers, fellow workers. Take a look at any of our communities, from Kittery to Fort Kent. Maine people are in need of real help. Housing costs have nearly doubled in recent years. Wages haven't kept pace, and healthcare premiums have skyrocketed. We've all watched anxiously as the number of healthcare providers has dwindled. Families are struggling to find care for their loved ones in nursing homes, disability services, and daycare. Yet instead of investing in healthcare and housing, this Congress cut healthcare, used the money to give tax breaks to billionaires, and to give $75 billion to ICE and H.R. 1. The federal government's raids directly threaten our already fragile communities and the services that our members provide to Maine people. The members of our union come in all shapes and sizes, different creeds, races, and origins. And like all working Americans, we play a crucial role in our communities and our economy. We provide the services that all of us count on as we go about our daily lives. plowing roads, answering 911 calls, and protecting Maine's most vulnerable citizens. I've heard from some of these dedicated workers in recent days. They're afraid to even go to work for fear of racial profiling. So as ICE is sent into our communities to abduct our neighbors, we stand and say no. No, you cannot violate our constitutional rights. No, you cannot violate our human rights. No. And as such, we're calling on Senator Collins and King to oppose any appropriations bill that increases deportation or detention funding, establish real reforms, accountability, and start meaningful, ongoing, and active oversight that will end the terror and protect our rights. And they need to start to invest resources where they will actually help our communities. Healthcare funding, housing for all, and supporting the care our families need to go to work and thrive. Meanwhile, in Maine, we cannot wait for Congress, and we cannot trust what we are being told. We call on our state leaders to do everything in their power to protect the rights of the people of Maine. It's time for ICE to get out, for healthcare and housing to get in, to restore our rights, and to fight back. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sophia Khalid, Executive Director of Community Organizing Alliance.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sophia Khalid. I wish we were gathered here for something else. I wish we weren't standing here because people have died. I wish families across this country and here in Maine weren't living with this level of fear. But this is where we are. We are in a moment of real crisis in this country. Not just political disagreements, a real moral crisis. A crisis about what we are willing to accept in the name of security. In January, 2 American civilians, Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, and Renee Good, also 37, were killed during federal enforcement operations in Minneapolis. 2 lives gone. 2 families shattered. And once again, we are told this is unfortunate, complicated, and tragic. But when armed federal enforcement ends in the deaths of American civilians, that is not just tragic, that is a warning sign. For years, communities have been saying that the system is becoming more militarized, more aggressive, less accountable. We have watched enforcement expand while oversight shrinks. We have watched funding increase while trust erodes. And here in Maine, over the past few weeks, we have felt what it looks like on the ground. Parents afraid to drive to work. Families unsure if it is safe to attend schools or religious gatherings. Neighbors texting each other late at night asking, is this real? That kind of fear changes how people live. It isolates people. It destabilizes communities. We are seeing a pattern. Families destabilized here at home through raids, detention, and constant threat. Countries destabilized abroad through policies that fuel displacement, and then the very people forced to move are criminalized when they seek safety in this country. At the same time, we are told that there isn't enough money for schools, not enough money for health care, not enough money for housing, not enough money for homelessness, not enough money for working families. That is not neutral. That reflects priorities. We are standing here today because we believe those priorities are wrong. We believe safety means families staying together. Safety means access to health care and stable housing. Safety means children not wondering whether their parents will come home. Safety does not mean militarized raids in our neighborhoods. Safety does not mean expanding detention systems. Safety does not mean deadly forces becoming part of immigration enforcement. So we are being very clear today. We are calling to abolish ICE. We are calling for the resignation of Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem for defending and expanding policies that have deepened harm and spread fear. We are calling on every elected official, from local to state to federal, to decide what side of this moment they are on, because this is a defining moment. This is not about chaos. This is not about lawlessness. It is about whether we accept an enforcement regime that repeatedly shows pattern of excessive force, racialized targeting, and a lack of accountability. It is about whether democracy can survive when fear becomes a governing strategy. We do not want cosmetic reform, and we do not want temporary adjustment. We want structural change. We want a system built on due process, human dignity, and transparency. A system that understands that communities are stronger when people feel safe, not surveillanced. To every single leader listening today, history will remember, what did you do this moment? It will remember whether you defended the expansion of power or whether you stood up for human life. Today we choose dignity. Every day we choose dignity, accountability. We choose a future where safety is rooted in care and not control. We will continue to organize, to speak, and to demand that future together. Again, we are demanding to abolish ICE. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Reverend Jody Hayashida of Multi-Faith Justice Maine and on the board of the Maine Council of Churches.
Multi-Faith Justice Maine draws together people from every faith tradition and every corner of the state. The Maine Council of Churches includes 7 member denominations. Between these two bodies, we are in community with tens of thousands of Mainers of faith. And so I am speaking to you this morning grounded in the fierce love of thousands of Mainers. Multi-Faith Justice Maine and the Maine Council of Churches stands both in solidarity with Maine's immigrant community and in support of the call to abolish ICE. Though the people of Maine are rooted in many diverse religious traditions, the fundamental teachings of those traditions are shared. Love of neighbor, solidarity with the vulnerable, justice over comfort, persistence in the work of shaping this world into a reflection of the love that holds us all. The existence of ICE stands in opposition to every one of those teachings. The guardrails that some of our legislators are now seeking may shave off the edges of the most egregious harm that is now being inflicted upon our neighbors, but the mission of ICE itself is rooted in a denial of the violent colonial history of this nation and the current dehumanization of entire peoples. A fundamentally immoral organization cannot be safeguarded into morality. If we in this country are serious about freedom, if we are serious about justice, if we are serious about seeking to become a morally righteous nation, ICE must be abolished. This will not be the last piece of our collective work, but it is a necessary one.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Ilma Lopez, owner of Cheval and Ugly Duckling.
Anyways, I'm really short. So, good morning. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the support to our immigrant community. Thank you for looking towards a better inclusive tomorrow. I want to take this moment to acknowledge the hard times we're living as a community. Asking a small business to close does not feel right. Playing with their livelihood is not the right move. We should be striking against big companies, your usual suspects, Amazon, Home Depot, and the list goes on. We're talking about ICE now, but they have been here for a while. It has impacted our life. They brought fear to our streets. We see the injustice in the practices. We want to stand against this. However, disruption is not the right way to move forward. Let's find a way to lead with love as a hard spine of sight. As an immigrant, we want to work. We need to support our families and our countries. A day off is not a good news. Checking our community when we want to fit in, when we're looking for equality, making small businesses that employ us feel the pressure to close or they will face boycott, does not sit well with us. If you want to help us, please show up to all the places we work and run and buy everything. Tip us well. Do all the amazing things you know how to do, and many of you have been doing. I'm afraid what this will do. Are we bringing more attention to us? Immigrants, is this going to be negative for us? As a small business owner, I'm faced with choosing between my beliefs, the team, and what's best for longevity of it. I want to apologize for the position of all of you, owners, operators, and workers. You have been put in, whether you will cover your rent, bills, or you support the cost. That's a way that's eating me alive. The team does not want to close. I know and I believe closing a small business won't have the effect we want towards a big corporation. So what do? How can we explain to all of you, we love you, we respect you, but we just can't close? We as immigrants don't have the pleasure to take a day off. I did not want to close, but the weight of being judged was so heavy, and the panic started. If we're doing this to stand against ICE for their actions, Why are we making our community feel like this? Feel scared that we are going to ruin them if they don't agree with the movement. Grateful for the intentions, but targeting and hitting in small places and each other, the division. Are we becoming them? Are we so over the situation of the United States that we forgot empathy towards our neighbors? I'm here to show my gratitude to this country and its people, and all the opportunities that it has given me and my fellow immigrants, and to ask for a path for the new tomorrow that is built with respect, love, care, and perseverance, hard work, and ethics, where we, the immigrants, are the last targeted race in this country. Let's do this for all the people of colors that has been mistreated, all the LGBTQ+ that has not seen equal, all the religions that has been undermined. Let's do this for all of us, and it has to be done by all of us. Thank you for supporting our community in this time of crisis.
Next up, we have Amanda Gavin of UAW Maine Grad Workers.
Hi everyone, my name's Amanda Gavin. This is M. Souls, and we are members of the University of Maine Graduate Workers Union with UAW. Our unit represents over 1,000 workers across the state of Maine, and nearly half of our members are international. A main goal in our recent contract fight was securing protections for international workers. This included a protocol for ICE on campus and restricting unnecessary cooperation with ICE. We were told that this was unnecessary and we didn't need to fight for it, and it took over a year of fighting to win these protections. And it's become abundantly clear that a strong contract and a strong labor movement is critical to keeping us safe. Many of our members right now are living and working in fear because those in power have been unwilling to take a stand. The Grad Workers Union knows that an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. We are committed to fighting alongside the people in Maine for ICE out of Maine, for ICE out of everywhere. We also demand no Customs and Border Patrol at the University of Maine Career Fair. To echo Brother Alec, what we want is healthcare and housing for all. And we will keep organizing for safe and strong Maine communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Keely Parker representing Portland Service Industry Workers.
Everyone's short. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. My name is Keely Parker. I am a second-generation Mexican-American living in the state of Maine for over 15 years now. I'm here on behalf of the 175 businesses that have pledged to close their doors today to show the power of our community. 10 days after the murder of Renee Good, there were rumors about a suspected ICE surge in southern Maine. I have loved ones in Minneapolis who had been relaying to me the horror of what they were experiencing. Tension was high as Mainers started their work week, and it was very quickly replaced with terror. People were being abducted in mere minutes while going home, going to work, going to school, waiting for the bus, even while leaving the hospital after the birth of a child. At the end of a long week of trauma inflicted on our community, we saw Alex Preddy murdered in the streets of Minneapolis. Many Mainers woke up Sunday morning feeling called to act. Enough was enough. We were not going to wait for this to happen to one of our own. We wanted to send a message. So we took the snow day to organize. Over the course of the week, we have shown that our community has the capacity to come together and rapidly respond to the call for collective action. This is vacation land. The tourism industry is essential to the economy of this state. Two main pillars holding up the tourism industry our hospitality, and retail. And immigrants make up a large percentage of that workforce. Over the past several weeks, many of our essential immigrant community members have been afraid to open their doors, to commute alone, afraid to go anywhere non-essential, afraid to go to work or school for fear of being wrongfully detained and taken who knows where. We still don't know. What we do know is that these people are our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers. Today, the working class of Portland has sent a clear message to those in power. Your power is derived from our labor, and we are not afraid to withhold our labor for the safety of our neighbors. We, the workers of Portland, have shut down, again, over 175 businesses in the Portland area today, in Vacation Land's largest city, to demand the following. We demand our federal delegation end all funding for ICE. We demand that the governor take action to bar violent immigration enforcement from our state and to enact an eviction moratorium to protect those who have not been able to safely go to work and earn a living. We demand that the Secretary of State, Shanna Bellows, continue to protect our sensitive voter data and not give in to federal fear-mongering. We demand our Attorney General and the district attorneys issue arrest warrants for the unlawful abductions that have happened in our state. We demand every single one of our abducted neighbors to be brought back home. As a community, we are coming together to prove that we have the power and the capacity to organize collective action and exert our influence over the economy of this state, to demand that our elected officials do what needs to be done. We will not back down. We will not tolerate intimidation. We will not let this administration divide us. We will protect our community. ICE out of Maine, ICE out for good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last, but certainly not least, we have Crystal Cron, founder and executive director of Presente Maine.
I am a proud Quechua woman, and I come from a long line of women who have held, cared for, and defended community with the power of revolutionary indigenous love, even in the face of extermination. And I'm here today to carry forward that legacy. We come together today at a critical juncture in our journey towards liberation. Yesterday, 3 weeks after we received the first tip that ICE was coming for us, Susan Collins announced that ICE's surge of activity in Maine had come to an end. The prospect of declaring victory was tempting. It would have been easy. After weeks of planning for and responding to this organized attack on our communities, we're exhausted, we're traumatized, we're grieving. But a half-hearted promise to end enhanced operations is not enough. The supposed end of one campaign does not indicate the end of ICE's broader mission. Yesterday, only hours after Collins' statement, we received news on the hotline of yet another abduction by ICE, another father stolen off the street, another family thrown into upheaval and fear. But why should we be surprised that Susan Collins is so poorly placed to make any kind of accurate statement about what's happening on the ground in Maine? How can we trust what she has to say? The last time she held a town hall was 25 years ago. She lied about voting to fund ICE. We live here, we work here, and we are telling you the truth. ICE was abducting people long before the so-called Operation Catch of the Day, and they will continue to do so after. And they'll continue to mock us and our livelihoods while they do it. Maine's fishing industry is inherently a tradition of working-class solidarity, of community and resilience. Operation Catch of the Day is a derisive insult to every one of us, whether you're in a Maine lobsterman back generations or you're an immigrant who works in seafood processing. I was raised by the hardworking people who are now being disappeared on our streets. I know that ICE exists to target and punish the working class, nothing more. That is why there can be no return to normal. ICE is what's normal. ICE was established in 2002. They've been tearing apart communities for more than 2 decades. However, this agency has roots going back over a century to the first federal iteration of the Immigration and Naturalization Services in 1890. This is a lineage of terror, the dousing of indigenous Mexican immigrants in gasoline, of Japanese internment camps, and the Chinese Exclusion Act. It's all one long tradition of violence that we must interrupt now. Its abolition cannot wait one more minute. No one is coming to save us. As we've seen over the last few weeks, only we, the people, protect ourselves. School watches, the ICE Watch hotline, meal trains for frontline workers, our community sprang into action to protect us within hours. We relied on systems we've spent years building because we knew this moment was coming. All our elected officials vote to increase ICE funding by billions of dollars. The political elite would have our collective safety depend on their personal agendas. Instead of providing even a sliver of protection, the very best they have to offer is a hypothetical lull in the onslaught of violence. Did Susan Collins watch her neighbors get dragged into the street at gunpoint in front of their children and her own? Did she take groceries to her friends terrified to leave the house? No. That was you. That was me. That was our kids. That was us. And now she offers a vague secondhand promise that the worst is over. Now she expects us to applaud her backroom dealings with Kristi Noem as the actions of a leader. It's not enough. ICE will only stop abusing its power when it has none at all, when they cease to exist. Now is not the time to lean back with a sigh of relief. It's time to fight harder and demand that ICE be abolished. Demand the return of our stolen people. Demand accountability for all the agents who acted lawlessly. So no winning celebration yet. We fight on together, demanding justice, demanding truth, demanding victory. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Crystal, so much for those powerful words and for all the moving remarks that we've heard calling for a true end for ICE in Maine. If you would like a one-on-one interview with any of these speakers, you can connect to Lucy, who's over here. She just raised her hand, and she can show you how to get connected to these folks. Thank you all so much.